Welcome to the second episode of our three-part series on the historic Bozeman Trail, where we will uncover the trail's formation and the events that shaped its history. If you missed our first episode, be sure to go back and learn of the development of the trail and historic circumstances leading up to this time. In 1863, John Bozeman and his partner John Jacobs followed ancient Indian trails that could potentially lead immigrants on a 538-mile shortcut from the Oregon Trail on the North Platte River in central Wyoming to the goldfields in southwestern Montana territory around Virginia City. Seeking an opportunity to guide immigrants along this newfound route, they set their plan into motion. Despite warnings from native tribes near Deer Creek Station on the North Platte River about the potential consequences of creating a new road and the influx of immigrants, Bozeman and Jacobs were undeterred. They enlisted a guide named Rafael Gallegos, well-versed in the region and its native inhabitants. And on July 6, 1863, they set out with a wagon train comprised of about 100 people and about 46 wagons. Their journey proceeded smoothly until they reached the area near present-day Buffalo, Wyoming, where a large group of Indians confronted them, threatening to attack the train if they continued crossing the region. Considering this danger, the immigrants held a conference and decided to turn back, retreating about 50 miles to seek military reinforcements at Deer Creek. Unfortunately, their request for assistance was denied, leaving them with the option of taking the longer route along the west slope of the Bighorn Mountains through the Bighorn Basin to Montana. In 1864, Bozeman made another attempt at the shortcut, successfully leading a large and heavily armed immigrant party from Richard's Bridge on the North Platte to Virginia City, becoming the first to arrive in Montana for the season. In total, 4 wagon trains with a total of 450 wagons and 1,500 people traveled from Richard's Bridge near Casper, Wyoming, along the Bozeman Trail to the goldfields that year. Warriors attacked several trains, resulting in casualties on both sides. In 1865, the Bozeman Trail was temporarily closed due to General Patrick E. Connor's campaign against the Northern Plains tribes. Fort Connor, later renamed Fort Reno, was established and garrisoned. However, Connor's efforts failed to stop the Indian attacks and secure the road for immigration. In 1866, the government invited Red Cloud and other leaders representing the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes to Fort Laramie to seek an agreement providing safe passage along the Bozeman Trail through Indian territory. Tribal leaders attending considered agreeing to suspend hostilities and communicate with other tribes in the region, but vehemently opposed any occupation or permanent development along the Bozeman Trail. During the negotiations, Colonel Henry Carrington arrived at Fort Laramie with troops of the 18th Infantry. He brought supplies and orders to build and occupy Army posts along the Bozeman Trail. The arrival of Carrington's force was viewed by tribal leaders as proof that the treaty negotiations were a sham, and many prominent leaders, including Red Cloud, abruptly cut off talks and left. To safeguard travelers, Colonel Henry Carrington led portions of the 18th Infantry and 2nd Cavalry up the Bozeman Trail to re-garrison Fort Reno and construct Forts Phil Kearny and C.F. Smith. Continued use of the Bozeman Trail and the ensuing construction of the forts led to a series of conflicts between the coalition of Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes and the immigrants, as well as the U.S. military. These clashes, known as Red Cloud's War, took place between 1863 and 1868, named after the influential Oglala Lakota leader Red Cloud, who played a pivotal role in uniting the tribes against the intruders. Several significant battles, including the Fetterman, Hayfield, and Wagon Box battles, took place in 1866 and 1867. The tribal coalition efforts and eventual victory was fueled by events such as the Sand Creek Massacre of Cheyenne people in Colorado in 1864, the massacre of Arapaho people by the Connor Expedition near Ranchester, Wyoming in 1865, the invasion of Indian treaty lands and prime hunting grounds by immigrants, and the construction of the forts by the U.S. military along the Bozeman Trail. Due to the resistance of the tribal coalition, the use of the Bozeman Trail was discontinued, and Forts Reno, Phil Kearny, and C.F. Smith were eventually abandoned under the Laramie Treaty of 1868. Join our next episode as we continue to uncover the fascinating journey of the Bozeman Trail and its profound influence on the American West. To learn more about the history of the Bozeman Trail and the surrounding areas, visit our museums, designated historic sites, and national historic landmarks along the trail corridor in Montana and Wyoming. You can also explore the Bozeman Trail travel guide on the Fort Phil Kearny Bozeman Trail Association website at fortphilkearny.com. Get out and discover your trail with the Oregon-California Trails Association.